Thanks everyone for coming to Engine Yard in a nutshell. My name is Edward Chiu.
I'm PJ Hagerty.
And I'm going to walk through just some scenarios and talk a little bit about Engine Yard. Then I'll go ahead and walk through a demo just so you can see the product. And then I'll pass it over to PJ to talk about support. So more than likely, I mean, you're working for a company that's, unless you are doing another Pinterest clone or a creepier version of chat roulette, you're probably going to want to get press coverage at some point. And when that day happens, your traffic's going to skyrocket. And I'm going to show you a picture of a guy that you probably know. It's either you or somebody you know or somebody that's hidden in a dungeon somewhere that doesn't see the light of day. But this guy is stressed out. He's stressed out because not only is traffic growing, you have to install and configure an operating system when you're doing everything on your own. You have to install Ruby version. You have to install Rails. You have to configure an app server. And you have to configure a web server. Then you have to configure a load balancer. And then after all that, you have to configure your application on there. And when all of that is complete, you have to pray that it all works. And anytime you make stack changes or you make changes to your code, you have to pray again. So that's where Engine Yard Cloud comes in. So I'm going to hop on over to, how many people here have deployed on Engine Yard recently? Cool. So I'm just going to quickly walk through the deployment process and then do a demo for a failover. So this is the first page when you go on to Engine Yard. All we need from you is your Git repository. It's very simple. Let us know what version of your application, whether it's Sinatra, Rails 2, Rails 3, or Rails 4. And just click on Create Application.
The assumption here is that your organization would have much better internet than we have here, because it generally does not take this long.
That's all right. I like the awkward pauses. So this is the environment creation page. And basically, an environment is a container of your instances. So you could have a staging environment, a production environment. So let's go ahead and just make this your production environment. And I'm not going to walk through everything in here, but basically you have the option to choose your own application server stack. Let us know the version of Ruby you're using, Ruby gems, takeover preferences. Whenever your instance dies, we perform a takeover, so you have the option of doing a boot from snapshot or booting from a new volume. If you have a custom domain name, and one of the cool things about Engine Yard is you can provision your instances in any of AWS's regions, rather than just being limited to just whether it's east or west. And I'll go ahead and demo the ability to SSH directly into your instance later, but this is where you set up your SSH keys because you have full root access into any of your instances. And just letting us know what database you're using. And if you want to use things like MongoDB or React, you simply just click No Database and you can configure it afterwards. And then the last part is just letting us know how often you want to run database backups and snapshots of your environment. No. Just give us 5 minutes here.
You have a question?
Please. No. Yeah, once the environment is created, there are certain options that you can't change until you boot down the environment, but you can make that change and then boot it back up. It's a good question. And also, something to note is that it does seem like there was a lot of options on there, but anything that if you just leave everything the same, it works great out of the box. And if you have any questions, obviously there's a little question mark next to each one that'll tell you which one's a good choice for you. So the final thing that you need to do to deploy an app onto EngineYard is kind of just select the number of instances or servers that you want. And we have 3 pre-configured options: the single instance, the staging configuration, and production configuration. These ones are just setups that so you don't have to think about. Or you can go into custom configuration and select yourself the number of application instances you want, select the sizing, and you can also have a separate database instance, database slave, and a utility instance. So I'm going to go ahead and just set up a staging configuration here and boot this up. And since I knew that the internet would be a little bit slow here, I have a pre-booted environment that I'll just go ahead and go into while that's loading. We'll have a little race here.
Yeah. It kind of depends on the application itself. If you're doing something that's fairly small, it's not going to be like super threading. You're probably going to go with Unicorn because it allows consistent no downtime deployments as long as you're not having migrations. If you have migrations, then obviously you're going to get a little bit of downtime, but it's still fairly faster to boot and moves a lot faster than Passenger. When you use Passenger, it's generally for something that's a little more beefy. But at the same time, when you do deploy, you're going to get some downtime because all those Passenger workers will be killed off and then respun up with the new stack.
And for web server, we use Nginx.
Right.
All right, so while that's loading, this is the official EngineYard dashboard page where you can see your production environment is loading. You have 3 separate instances that are being configured. And you can see here that with EngineYard, we automatically boot your instances into US East, and you can specify the different availability zones that you have. So it could be 1C, 1D, or 1B. And then here is a fully configured environment. So it gives you the health status of your application, a green light next to all of your instances. And if you mouse over here, you can see that this one was booted in US East Zone 1D. And this one was automatically separated into a different availability zone to take care of failovers in US East Zone 1C. Go ahead.
What is Smithy and why do I care about it?
Smithy is something that we use for provisioning to gather the instances and get them booted up quickly.
Great question. So one thing I'm just going to go ahead and demo here is just a failover. So you can SSH directly into your application instance. So I'm going to manually shut down the application master instance so you can see the system will continue to ping the application master and see that it's no longer responding, and the application slave will promote itself to become the app master. What's special about the app master? Yeah. Well, it's a master.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is and I know the answer, but why would shutting down the app master be a bad thing? Why would I need to fail with that? What role does the app master play?
So the app master serves other requests. So once the point of doing this demo is I'm going to shut down the app master so it stops serving requests, and then just to show you that the application slave will immediately take over and continue to serve requests.
Load balancer exists on the app master.
Exactly. So I'm going to refresh here. Give it a few here. It's still trying to figure out that it's shutting down. That's nice. I have a MacBook Air that can't take a RJ45 cable. Do you? That would be awesome.
We encourage participation.
So you can see here that the app master was automatically promoted, and now we're shutting down the previous slave that was promoted, and we're booting a new slave right here. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the presentation. And I'm just talk a little bit about the few things that make Engineer Cloud special. I mean, there's a lot of technology out there. There's a lot of platform as a services company that you can choose from. But I'm going to go over 4 things that how Engineer can be helpful to your company. So we've deployed thousands of applications. I mean, we've helped small startups all the way to large enterprise companies, and we have a lot of expertise in doing all those deployments. We're very experienced in things of high availability, security, load balancing, and just being able to support companies out there that have scaled to millions of users, and just having that experience, it helps us in helping you size up your application instance right from the beginning. And when you scale your application, it's very easy. It's a click of a button that you can do on Engineer, but the most important thing is scaling is a very scary process. It's nice to have a lot of users, but you want to make sure that everything is working perfectly. So having Engineer support behind you the entire time while you scale has been one of the biggest benefits that we provide to our customers. And next is Engineer is very configurable, so you can make any changes to your stack. We provide you with dedicated instances, so if you want to set up things like Solar, Rescue, Redis, you can easily set it up through Chef, and that's not something that you have to pay for through a add-on. You just basically, it's a click of a button or uncommenting a line of code, and you're up and running. And the last thing is, as I demoed, is high availability. We realize that uptime is a very, very important part of a business. So the automatic distribution into availability zones is a key thing that we automatically do for you. And for customers looking for cross-region support, we can also set that up for you. And probably the most important thing is support, and I'm going to go ahead and let PJ talk about that.
All right, so again, my name is PJ. I'm a support engineer with the support team. We're 100% distributed. And when we say 24/7 support, we absolutely mean it. It's not a situation where you have, some folks who are working off shifts or someone who has a phone by the side of the bed that will hopefully wake up and pick it up. Johnny the intern isn't sitting there being the only guy sitting in front of a terminal hoping for a ticket. We have support that follows the sun. We have support engineers all the way from the East Coast all the way back around to the West Coasts of Europe. And we have people with expertise that really can't be compared. We have developers, we have systems administrators, experts in Chef, experts in Ruby, experts in every iteration and flavor of Ruby and Rails. We focus a lot on understanding our customers' pain so that we can ensure that their applications stay up and are as available as possible. A vast majority of the support team has gone through what all of our customers have gone through, so there's an understanding there. So we always want to be available and on hand to make sure that we can help out when that time of need arises. We're also big on one-on-one interaction. Why is it not going? We like to focus on, we like to make, when you submit a ticket or you come into IRC to ask us a question, we want to make you feel like this is a conversation, not a interaction with a whole group of people, and some people might know the answer and some people might not. We want to give you kind of a holistic experience so that when you walk away you feel like you've spoken with someone who knows exactly what they're talking about, you've spoken with someone who understands your particular problem, and you've spoken with someone who cares about it enough to get it resolved. Whether that be a simple issue with your application or the fact that you're scaling so fast you need to add instances and you need to help walking through that. So that's basically the focus of support, and our attitude is whatever it takes. We are not a 9-to-5 organization. We have people that are working constantly, and if I'm sitting there and I get a call from you right at 5 East Coast time, I'm not going to say, well, 5, I'm done, I hand it off to someone else. I'm going to work with you, help to get the problem solved, and if it is going to be something, monumentous that's really going to take more help, we'll gather more engineers and we'll team through it to help you get your issue resolved. Now that's our basic group of support, but we actually kind of have 3 tiers of support. Edward is a panda. That's not a slur. He's what we call a polite agent of non-destructive assimilation. He takes our trial customers and supports them so that giving them walkthroughs like this so they understand how easy it is to get started, understand the platform, understand how to use the interface, and give them a really good experience before you even decide to put any money down on the table. We don't want anyone coming in and hoping they can figure it out on their own. We want you to get that experience to feel like you know what you're doing before you even get to the whole point of putting everything that you have on Engine Yard. Once you've kind of gotten out of that trial phase and it's time to get into some more customization, some more focuses on how to really make your app function as best as it possibly can, that's when it's time for the EY app support team to step in. And that's our team of engineers who focus on giving you the best possible experience, the best environment for your application. And I wouldn't say that we hold hands, but we instruct you to make you more knowledgeable without getting to the point where you actually have to become the system administrator and do it yourself. We're really there to relieve that pain. We want you to focus on developing awesome applications. We don't want you to sit there and think, oh my God, is my server up right now? That's our jobs. We'll focus on that and we'll get that information to you. If something does come up that's a little bit beyond our expertise, which is occasionally true, or a customization that's kind of far out of what we offer in our platform, we have our professional services team who are standing by to do everything from a code review of your application to maybe see how we can make it run faster or better, make improvements and tweaks, to actually looking into customizing your particular Nginx settings so that you can get the performance that you want. And those three pillars kind of support the organization. So while we do have the cloud product, support is kind of our other product. It's a service that we offer you so that you don't have to worry about these things and take it upon yourself to sweat over all the details and the small things. So that's our support organization, and we're kind of the best in the world. And so humble. But our focus is on making sure you're taken care of so that you can then take care of your customers.
Thank you.
So thanks again. I'm PJ. This is Edward Chiu.
Does anyone have any questions?
Does anybody have any questions? If you're too shy to ask in this gigantic group of people, we'll be available at the booth later. We're also having an after party, and the answers to the questions get so much better after a couple drinks. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. We appreciate it. We hope you learned something today. And feel free to stop by the booth if you have any other further questions, and we'll be happy to talk about it.
Thank you.